He is related to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His name is Uthman ibn Affan ibn Abi al-As ibn Umayyah. His mother, Arwa bint Quraysh. His grandmother of Uthman ibn Affan from his mother's side, Al-Bayda bint Abd al-Muttalib. She is the aunt of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Also, he meets in the family tree, so to speak, with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the fourth grandfather, Abd Munaf. He is younger than the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, 6 years younger than the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The way he was raised, his father was a wealthy tradesman in Mecca, and among the biggest businessmen in Mecca, his father. So he comes from a very extremely rich family. And Uthman himself was well known for his generosity towards his people, and he was loved from everybody around him, and also a leader among them. He was among the first people to become Muslims after Abu Bakr and Ali and Zayd ibn Haritha. So when the Jibreel and the revelation was to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Uthman was 34 years old. So Abu Bakr introduced him or invited him to Islam. Therefore, he was immediately he announced his Islam, as I said, after Abu Bakr and Ali and Zayd ibn Haritha. His uncle, Al-Hakam ibn al-As, tried to prevent him from choosing Islam. So he tied him up with ropes and he locked him up. And he said, I will not release you until you leave this religion. So Uthman said to him, I will not leave this religion and I will never change my mind from Islam. And he kept on holding strong to his faith till his uncle gave up and released him. Among his characters, he was extremely shy, and he is a very quiet person. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, wouldn't I be shy from a man whom the angels shy from him? The angels shy from him. And as Aisha bint Abi Bakr narrates, when the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was at home with him, Abu Bakr and Umar, and the Prophet Muhammad was sitting and he had his leg exposed. So as Aisha told him, Uthman ibn Affan is coming now. Now his leg is exposed while Abu Bakr is there, while his Umar is there. As the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ heard that Uthman ibn Affan is coming, he immediately covered his leg. And they were surprised why he did this. He said, wouldn't I be shy from a man who the angels are shy from him, for being whom he is? And it is also said that about him that when he performs ghusl, he performs it without no light on, because he doesn't want to be seen by anybody, and he shies away even from Allah Almighty. So he thinks that with darkness that he would feel secure that not to be seen because of the type of shyness that he had in him. He was married to Ruqayya, the daughter of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and she had migrated with him to Habasha, that is Ethiopia in Africa, and then to Medina. She became sick before Ghazwat Badr, and so that was in the war of Badr, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told him not to go and fight, but to stay with his sick wife. So she died, and then he got married after her, Kulthum, the other daughter of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and she also lived with him till she died. That is why they called him Dhul Nurayn, the one with two lights, because he married the two daughters of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told him after the wafat of Kulthum, if I had a third daughter, I would let you marry her. I would let her be the wife of Uthman bin Affan. Among his habits, every Friday he would liberate one of the slaves. He would pay for the master of that slave, for that slave to become a free man. Also, from his generosity, he bought the well of Roma. There was a well, a sweet water well in Medina, owned by a Jew, and he used to charge people money to drink from it. So Uthman ibn Affan bought that well from him and made it waqf for everybody to drink free from that well. Also, he bought all of the plots of land that were adjacent to the Masjid of the Prophet Muhammad �ﷺ in order for the Masjid to be expanded on these plots of land. So when they expand, these plots of land are part of the Muslim territory in order to expand the Masjid. When Uthman ibn Affan was assigned and elected as a Muslim leader to Muslims, people could see on his face. Nowadays, anyone who becomes a president, you could see him smiling and, everybody. For him, his face was fully sad and depressed because the size of the responsibility he had to take. And as he stood on the minbar of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, where the Prophet stood up to give the speech and khutbah, he said to the people, warning them about not to let this life take them away in its luxuries and waste their time rather than the focus on the hereafter. His internal policy, as he became leader, he had governors in various parts of the Muslim territories around him, countries. And he used to say to these governors what their duties are towards their own people, the presidents of countries that are part of the Muslim territory. He was telling them what their role should be towards the people. And to them, their main goal is not to collect zakat and money, but more than give hidayah to their own people. So the leader is not the leader that we see nowadays. He's someone whose heart is with his own people and making sure to give them the guidance to these people. And this was part of his orders to them. The second thing, he used to warn those who collected the zakat for the Muslim treasury. He said, have justice in collecting the zakat from the people, and do not be cruel or collect more than it should be, and to give precisely and take precisely what is required. The third thing he said to the people, to the Muslim world around him, is that people should fear Allah Almighty and never look at this dunya that we are living in it and then indulge with it rather than focus on the hereafter. His external policy, after Umar ibn Khattab was killed, the enemies of Islam from Persia and the Roman Empire found it an opportunity to take back the lands that Muslims took away, that Muslims had opened up, became part of the Muslims' territory. So they found it an advantage now, since Umar has died, is to go back and take over. The king of Persia wanted to take the territory of Samarkand. What happened is because when Muslims liberated that part, they left him. They did not kill him as a leader and did not put him as a prisoner of war, but they left him stay like everybody else in that area. So he took the opportunity to take over the land that he used to be king of it. Also, the leaders of the Roman Empire, since they were pushed away from Sham, that is the area of Lebanon and Palestine and Syria, back to their territories in the Roman Empire, they started trying to figure ways of getting their own land back. And they had some of their soldiers and army in Alexandria at the time of Umar. So Uthman asked Amr ibn al-As for him to liberate Alexandria because they were not of the Roman army in it. So they put a siege around it in order to remove them from taking over the Muslim territories. And that siege led to their leader to ask for a truce. And Umar said, "We cannot trust you because you're king. We have a treaty together," and he broke that word. And he asked them to become a Muslim, but they refused but to war. And then there was a war between Muslims and them, and therefore Alexandria was liberated by the Muslims. So various changes happened during the time of Uthman ibn Affan. As I told you, the Persian and the Roman Empire, whenever there's a change in the Muslim leader, they try to take up land that they had. The second thing, also during his era, Muslims kept on opening new territories, futuhat, new places in the world, and gaining more territories in spreading Islam. And also what he did, Uthman, is that he had Muslim army to have Muslim army bases in new territories that were open in order to avoid anything happening if there is no Muslim army. So at least these bases are there to protect the new Muslim territories from being taken over for any reason also. Also, he started the first naval naval fleet, yes. Before Muslims, or of that part of the world, they were experts in wars that were on land. They had no experience in the sea at all. So at his time, he initiated to have Muslim ships take the sea and invade other countries, which I will explain to you further on. As I said, in the Muslim naval fleet, Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan was the governor of Sham, which is the area of Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria nowadays, which overlooks the Mediterranean. So he asked at the time of Umar ibn Khattab to give him the authority to liberate and open Cyprus by sea, because it is very close proximity from Hims in Syria. Hims and Cyprus, they are very close proximity in the sea. Yet at the time of Umar ibn Khattab, refused for Muslims to take the sea on ships because they had no experience in naval warfare, so to speak. So he wrote a letter to Amr ibn al-As to ask him about the opinion of having naval ships for liberating other parts of the world. And also Amr ibn al-As rejected that totally. So that issue was not there. But what has happened later on, Umar did not, another reason why at the time of Umar, not Uthman, the Muslims did not conquer the sea, the Roman territory and other territories, due to several things. First of all, there was letters correspondence between Umar and their leader. The wife of Umar, Kulthum bint Ali, sent a gift to the queen of the Roman Empire. She sent her perfumes and certain sweet fruit drinks and so forth. The wife the queen of the Roman Empire, liked that gift very much and sent Kalthum a necklace that is a precious necklace. Of course, Umar took it and put it in the Bayt al-Muslimin. Any gift that is given does not belong to the leader, it belongs to the Muslims' bank or the treasurer or minister. And by the way, this is, as of this day, for example, I knew this, for example, like, for example, for the United Kingdom, so to speak. If any of their dignitaries or the royal family and so forth comes to visit, and whenever they are being gifted, he or she does not take the gift. Okay, she accepts it from you, but as she goes back home, she has to give it to the government because it belongs to the crown or to the country itself. You don't get to keep it for yourself. The same thing Umar ibn Khattab did when his wife was given a necklace. It immediately went to Bayt al-Muslimin, to the Muslim treasury. It belongs to the Muslims themselves. And as I said, for the naval warfare, at the time of Uthman, Muawiyah asked, again Uthman ibn Affan, at the time of Umar he asked him, Umar rejected. So when he asked Uthman ibn Affan, I want your approval to have vessels and ships to conquer the sea and go and liberate or conquer other parts of the world, the Roman Empire and so forth. So there was no answer, but Muawiyah kept on being persistent, asking Uthman for approval to have ships built in order for Muslims to go to other places. As I said, Cyprus was one of them. So Uthman said to him, if you decide to go to the sea and take with you, one condition, your wife should be with you. If you agree to have your wife with you on that ship, you are granted my approval to go. And another condition, do not force people to be with you on the ship. This means the troops you take with you are their choice to choose to be on that ship to go and fight. Otherwise, you cannot tell them, you and you and you have to go and fight. They have to choose from their own self. And do not to select or to do, randomly pick people. Anybody who wants to come, he wants to come. This is the condition. So any one of them chooses to fight with you, it's because his own choice, not your own forcing them for it. And as I said to you, Uthman put a condition that you, Muawiyah, you take your wife with you. Because one thing that with him, his wife, he makes sure he is not exposed to danger or take any risk because his wife is with him. So therefore, this safeguards the troops to be protected, and it gives the leader a sense of taking decisions that are precise because his family is in the ship with them. Muawiyah prepared the Muslim naval fleet from the port of Akka in Palestine to take off. And a big army went with him. And he took with him his wife, Muawiyah, and his sister also. And also Ubadah ibn Samit took his wife, Haram bint Malhan. She is the one whom the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed for her, that she will be riding a boat on the sea. And she's there to fulfill what the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told about her. So when these ships arrived at Cyprus, and in the front of them is Muawiyah in his ship. Notice the way how Muslims run wars. He is the front ship there. And they reached the shore. Haram bint Malhan, she went to ride on one of the either a horse or a mule, and that horse, all of a sudden threw her off, and she fell and died, and she was buried in that land. And this is what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told her and predicted, that she will be riding on the sea and will be buried in that land. And that's what has happened. So Muawiyah and the companions, as they reached the shore, they discussed among themselves is to send a messenger to the people of Cyprus, telling them that they are there for them, because Cyprus will become part of the Muslim territory. And since the Byzantines, they take Cyprus as a base for them, the people of Cyprus rejected Muslims to accept Cyprus as part of their territory. And they hold on there in the capital, waiting for the Roman army to come and protect them. The Muslims encircled the capital, and the Roman army did not even go there. So the people of Cyprus asked for a truce and a peace treaty, and the Muslims accepted that peace treaty. Among this peace treaty, there are conditions for the people of Cyprus. First of all, if the Romans comes to fight, they should not support them or help them. Second thing, anything news about the Roman army moving around in the area, they should immediately inform the Muslims of any enemy movement. 3, the Muslims would protect. The Muslims will not fight with them unless they are attacked upon. 4, they have to protect the Muslims if there is a war, that the Muslims, as they take streets or the pathways in the island itself, they should be protected by the people there. Also, number 5 is that on a yearly basis, they have to pay jizya, which is the protection fee to be part of the Muslim protection. At that time is 7,200 dinar on a yearly basis. So these conditions the people of Cyprus have accepted, and a peace treaty has been done. It had remained valid for 4 years, and the Romans put pressure on them and gave them vessels to fight Muslims. So Muawiyah knew of the treason that they done, and prepared an army of 500 ships. And Abdullah ibn Abi Sarh from Egypt also had his ships towards there, where he met Muawiyah in Cyprus. So we have one group coming from Bilad al-Sham, either Mecca or Homs, these ports from one side, and from the Egyptian side, we had 2 Muslim naval armies moving there. And once the Muslims took it over again, Muawiyah made sure that there is a post or a command post of a Muslim army of 12,000 men. They are there and they are based in Cyprus permanently. And they are paid also salaries to remain in Cyprus in order to protect the territory from being taken over again. And he built a mosque in Cyprus itself. This means the Muslim army twice invaded Cyprus. And the Romans did not fight back the Muslims. For one thing is that they were keeping their energy to prepare for a biggest war against the Muslim navy. Also another reason why did not the Romans fight, because they saw how Muslims and heard how Muslims were able to be victorious in their wars. With a small number of fighters, they were able to become winners in every war they went through. So they put a plan to avoid confrontation with the Muslim naval force. So Abdullah ibn Qais went there. He was sent by the Muslims among the people there, to get the news about if the Roman army plans on attacking. So there were some beggars who came who wanted money. And one of these beggars was a woman. She told the Romans that this is a Muslim spy. So they ambushed him and killed him. So Sufyan ibn Auf was in charge of the army. And in that war, he took over and won over the people of Cyprus in that war. And he captured that woman whom she exposed the identity of Abdullah ibn Qais. And he told her, how did you know that he was a leader? She said, merchants whom I begged gave me as merchants. But when I begged him, he gave me as a king. Then I knew that he is a leader. This means he was generous more than the normal people that they used to give. So his generosity made her think that this man is not from our community. And then she knew that he was somebody from outside their country. That's why she had told the Romans about him. The last thing I want to mention to you about the death of Uthman ibn Affan. His death was, one day he was fasting and he slept. And as he slept before Asr, and he had a dream. And in that dream, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told him, you will be having iftar with us. So he told his family, my iftar will be in heaven. And what has happened is that 4 or 5 infiltrators from the enemies of Islam encircled his home. And they were able to get into his house and fight the guards. And they succeeded in stabbing him. And what he said was to his wife, Naila, he told her more of that day. He said, there are people who will come and kill me today. And I saw the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and Abu Bakr and Umar in my dream. They said to me, have your iftar with us tonight. Or they said, you will have iftar with us tonight. And he was fasting. And there was a struggle between his guards of the house from the companions of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ against these men. And they were able to overtake them and kill Uthman ibn Affan. And it is well known that it was something like Al-Ghafiqi ibn Harb. He hit Uthman with an iron pole, and he also kicked the Quran. And the other person came to Naila, his wife, and he hit her with a sword that chopped her fingers. And after killing him, they wanted to cut his head. So his wife and his daughters intervened. And they also stole everything that was in his home. And they went to Bayt al-Mal Muslimin also to steal whatever Muslims had. And that was Jum'ah of Eid al-Hijjah of the year of 53 Hijri. Wallahu a'lam. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala sallam. This is a very, very, very brief history about Uthman ibn Affan. If we were to talk about him, to give him or any of Khulafa al-Rashidin, the full potential, it will take us so many hours and hours and hours about more details. This is only a few points that I wanted to just to refresh our ideas and thoughts about him. And as I said, the purpose of these reminders is to build our Muslim personality where it should be than it is nowadays. جزاكم الله خير وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه وسلم.